episode of The Get Down is brought to you by Burn Clothing. Burn got that fresh apparel, so there's no need for you to be out there dressing like a bum. Listeners, head to www.burnclothing.com.au. Upon checkout, use code TEN for 10% off your next order. Peace. On to the show. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Beats. Welcome back to The Get Down. This week on The Get Down, we are joined by a favourite producer of mine. Not only can he produce the heat, but he can also rap his ass off too. And he's been doing it consistently for over 20 years. He's been a pivotal player in both Western Australian and Australian hip-hop as a whole. And to add to his resume, this guy married the queen of Australian hip-hop. You starting to work this out yet? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to The Get Down, the Drunken Cricket, a.k.a. Charlie Chimp, a.k.a. Dazastah. Daz, what's up, my brother?
What's good, my bro? What's happening?
It's been a fucking minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's been too long.
Yeah, look, congratulations straight off the bat, mate. Just had a little...
Oh, cheers.
Yeah, little man, eh?
Yeah. It's the first of the royal blood. The royal bloodline.
I love it.
Yeah.
Classic. So, how old is he now?
He's just gone 4 months now, so
Fuck.
he's born 7th of October.
Fuck, you been sleeping?
He's actually been pretty good. Like when we first got out, you know, like there was probably like 2 or 3 days. He was like every couple of hours he was up, but then he just started sleeping like 8:30. He'd sleep till like 3 in the morning.
Fuck off.
And then and then just wake up at like 6:30.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I know. He did that for about, just up until he hit 4 months, and then the last couple of days he's been sort of doing the 1 hour thing again.
Oh, yeah.
But he sort of, I don't know, last night he sort of just snapped out of it pretty quick, and then he's back to his big sleep again at night. We're loving it.
Oh, man. Your next one will be a drama. My lad did fucking sleep a whole night till he was like almost 4. He's still sometimes he'll still get up. He's just turned 8, man. He'll get up and fucking walk around the house.
Oh my god! I think I don't know. Maybe it's just because we're both sleepers and we probably just sleep through it. he's just wailing, but we're just too deep in sleep. It's not working now. I'm just going to sleep through it.
Yeah, true. There's $1 billion industry on it, you know, like books and fucking, you know, all these little techniques and shit that people have. And we used to rock with the 7 o'clock boob, bath, bed. So we'd like feed him, give him a hot bath, fucking give him another feed, then bed. Didn't work.
Oh man, the best advice we got was like, you guys will figure it out. And then, like everyone's different, and like it'll just, you guys will know what to do. But you're like, wow. And then like when it comes to it, like you're just reading all this stuff and overloading your stuff with all this info, and then it's just like, you know what, like that person was right.
Yeah,
that nurse was right.
I agree. There's too many opinions out there, eh?
Well, that's the thing, and everyone's, I guess, formulating on their personal experience. So, you know, like your personal experience is basically unique
and it's
to everyone else's.
And there's so much that comes into play. Like, fuck, who knows what's going on at that age? You know, my daughter had really bad colic, and we're just fucking scratching out our heads what's going on. They're like, she's got colic. Like, what the fuck does that mean? So it's like heartburn and shit. You know? Yeah. So,
well, it's weird because it's like, oh, well, this is what we know, so we're going to just call it this. And then they figure out, you know, oh, no. Or because other people like are saying, oh, no, it's just something that they just do. It's not colic. It's called I was like, what? Little dude's like screaming like he's in just intense pain. Yeah, that's fine. That's part of the normal thing, development. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I don't know.
So all good and healthy then?
Yeah, he's fine.
10 toes,
He's
10
all good.
fingers, and a dick, mate. That's all you can wish for.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
And
Everything else is a bonus.
how's Lales?
Yeah, Lars really good. I mean, she's kind of always wanted to be a mum, so
Yeah.
it finally happened, and she's basically just really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's kind of really good at everything she kind of does, and just puts pressure on herself, thinking she's not that good, but she's pretty good at everything.
She's a legend, isn't she? Well, there's a
Yeah.
bit of pressure on him, eh, to like put some heat out.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm like showing him now. Like he can't even talk, but he knows like, oh, like if I push this, that's the kick, and if I push that one, that's the snare.
Those videos are great, man.
Yeah, and then he's like, I haven't actually been making beats or anything now. You know, obviously, 'cause, you know,
Yeah.
just time and that, and I've been playing heaps of guitar.
Yeah, right.
And I just sit there and just make up like, you know, basically just heaps of blues, just playing blues chords. And just making all these blues songs about like shit, poo, burp, eating, and laughing. I don't know, just baby songs. It's like, oh man, I should just put out a kids album.
Well, you know, fucking one of my mates, Paddy, bought me a hip hop nursery rhymes CD when my lad was born, and it was all like Jay-Z and fucking like
Oh, really?
Dr. Dre all played with like, you know, the nursery around the little bells. So maybe you could like redo all your beats into fucking nursery rhymes. That's what.
Well, the thing is it just beats, or was there like, did they actually do like raps and that in it?
Nah, no raps. Nah.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, you know, you like your bells and stuff like that, your classical, like
So it's all the classic tracks, but
yeah,
just in like
music
bells
box
and stuff.
types. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely had Jay-Z
right.
on it. Definitely had some Dr. Dre on it, and you can tell what tracks they are. I got it somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll try and find it, but
Well, I was thinking like, because you know, like the expected thing would be kind of this like nice, I guess like nice kind of you know, like if you did a kids album, it's going to be all like, no, you know, kind of like nursery rhymes. But then I was like, oh, imagine just doing like a full banger heater, like mad bars, but it's for kids.
yeah,
It'd be tough,
well,
but you could pull it off.
that's where the money's at, man. Look at the Wiggles,
Oh man, that's it.
cleaning up.
If you can kind of make it so like, yeah, like the parents and that buy it,
Yeah.
and then the kids like, because the kids want it because it's catchy, because it's like kid stuff, but then like it's got bars. Then you got like the scenes like, man, the bars are sick. It's actually it's banging beats. There's no like kind of just light beats or anything. It's just full banging heavy beats.
Well, that jumps straight forward to question 20 of what's next.
Yeah. Well, I guess like when we found out, I was like, man, I can't like kind of do this like beat thing, because there's so much. I guess kind of doing the hip hop thing and the music thing, it's so like I've just got to lock in when I do it. I can't be distracted, and there's no way I can do that with Neil, man. So
yeah, right.
I started doing the 9 to 5 thing, but I still had a music shop.
Yeah.
And I've got all this stuff sort of sitting there. We still got like a downside record, like it's pretty much done, but yeah, there's just bits and pieces. I think, and then the GL3 thing as well, which has been going on forever.
Don't go too far ahead. We'll get to all of that then. All right, we'll rip into it. We'll rip into it then. All right. So
all right.
So what there's a few like key questions that I try and get through, but I've been fucking sussing you out through the week, man. You must be pretty high up on that. Remember that old Oz seller and it had how many beats people have produced?
Oh yeah. Was that
Muff's brother did it.
Yeah. Drano.
Drano. Yeah. Do you remember he had that? It was a disc, and then it became online. The Oz seller. You must be up there, because I think it was the last time I ever looked at it was Prowler, Suff. I reckon you were up there, and T was up there.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's still around anymore, man. I've got a CD of it somewhere, but I think that's
Yeah.
pretty outdated. But I know it was keeping it online for a while, but man, that's probably 15, 20 years ago now.
Yeah, it was such a long time ago. Because I remember Drano like contacting me about it, and it's like, oh yeah, like doing this thing. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, that sounds cool. It's kind of like I suppose it's sort of like a Discog sort of
Yeah,
vibe, you know.
yeah, it had potential.
But
There was a few little startup things that had potential in Australia back in the day. I had Mass on a few weeks back, and he said that he was offered a fucking preposterous amount of money for OzHipHop.com and turned it down.
yeah.
Uh,
Because when would that? Well, that would have been because I think
Because
who took it over after him? LJ did, eh? Yeah,
So I've made
right.
a mistake on that show. I couldn't remember her name, but it was LJ.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
she
then,
must have got.
but then
pretty
LJ's
cheap.
not doing it now, eh? Or she's still doing it?
I just think fucking Facebook took over, man. You know.
Yeah.
You know, they still have like a page, but I don't think it'll ever be bumping like it was back in the day, the forums. And that.
Nah.
I got a lot of feedback from the Mass episode. I got a lot of people writing in going, fuck, I miss them times, man. And then someone reminded me that the Funkles had their own board. Do you remember that? They had the
The
Funkles.
Did they?
Yeah, they had their own forum. That was fucking pretty
Yeah, that would have been like raucous.
Yeah, shit. Good times.
No, I didn't know. I mean, I kind of, I don't know what. I mean, I don't even know what that point of time is around kind of the Oz hip hop thing, and then like MySpace came in because that was the kind of start of that whole social media.
Yeah, I liked MySpace
thing. Yeah, I can't even remember because could you upload music to it? I can't even remember it.
So you had your standard page, and then people went there, and a song came on. But then you had an artist page which had like a player, and you could put 4 of your own tracks on there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because you could, when you went to someone's page, like you could see who'd been on your page that day. So I remember back in the day, if you wanted to mac a chick, you just go on her page 10 to 12 times, you know, and then she could see that you've been there. So, this dude's stalking me. But there's a bit of a flash in the pan. I remember the day like Delta came over and he's like, "Man, MySpace is done. Facebook's the new thing." And I looked at it and I'm like, "It just looks like LinkedIn, man. That looks fucking nerdy and shit." And now look where we are.
I know. It's like,
fucking Facebook's anonymous.
Yeah, it's like it's the new message board thing.
Yeah, I reckon it's
not. There's still forums, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, for UFOs and shit. But I reckon Facebook's gonna crash. I reckon it's got a shelf life. It's just the news source.
Well, yeah, everything will. Like everything will. Like it just depends how kind of people communicate. Because when there's a more, at the moment, like I guess, like, I mean, what would be next after Facebook? What's the next step? Because what's different about Facebook and then like message boards? I mean, I guess it's like videos, and photos, right?
I guess
it's just what's next after that? Hey,
I think it's just geared for the user more than a forum was. I think I talked with Mass about it. Like, it's pretty innovative to have done that back in the day because that was that was before Facebook. So he could have been fucking Matt Zuckerberg, man.
Yeah, could have. Imagine that.
Should have taken the money and run. That's what I said to him when he was off air. I'm like, "Fucking, you kidding me?" Well, he's happy. All right, mate. Let's get on to you, mate. So, one thing I want to get into the music, but first of all, can you talk a little bit about your heritage and your background and where were you born?
Yeah.
Were you born in Australia?
I was born in Australia. Yeah. I was born in Perth.
Yeah.
Well, so I thought. I thought I was Malaysian, half Burmese.
Yeah.
Until recently, when I kind of like, I mean, because my surname is actually of Dutch origin.
Yeah.
And when we looked at like where Royden sort of originated from, and like trace back, like I found some other stuff like family tree from my dad's side, that surname, and it was basically this Dutch captain, Captain Philip Roysens, who, yeah, around when did he come over? I can't remember what it was, but he married some. I don't know I think she was Nepalese or some Asian bird, and then they moved to Malaysia, and I think he picked So that starts from there, and then my mum's side, because my mum's maiden name's Smith, which is
that's hell Asian.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? And then like find out like my grandfather's basically Scottish Indian.
Yeah, right.
So his parents were Scottish Indian, and that because I was like, I always wondered why my goatee was like a bit orange in the light. Like, I was like, hang on, man, where's that coming from? That's not Asian. Definitely not Indian. There's no ginger Indians around. And then I think we traced back some of it, but yeah, I know the great grandfather was Scottish, and then mum, the great grandmother, was Indian. It's like a trip. Like I'm not even Burmese Malay at all.
And
I've been telling everyone.
You thought that your whole life.
Yeah, well then my grandmother, my grandmother's side, she migrated from. Well, I think they met the grandparents met in India and then migrated to Burma. But then I think her whole family came over from. I think they were Filipino.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then the heritage, because her maiden name is Faraz, which is, well, it's not even Filipino if you think about it.
Yeah, but the Spaniards went there and fucking.
Exactly. So, like, it's all basically just, colonization around the world.
Yeah. So, and what
are people just like leaving colonization? Like they're just basically escaping colonization.
Yeah, it's still happening.
And rooting.
So, adding Layla into the mix, how are you going to explain all this to your lad?
Yeah, don't know.
Because what's Layla's heritage? She's like Polish.
Well,
or something?
Yeah, like no, English, French, I think. Also, that's what we think. Because you're probably like, she can probably go back and it's like, you're Viking and like, I mean, I could probably say that.
Yeah.
I could probably say I'm Viking. It's like I've come from the blonde hair, like blue-eyed race.
Oh shit!
It's crazy. Yeah. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. The whole like when you start actually tracing stuff back, it's like.
Did you do it through like Ancestry.com or something like that?
Nah. So with my dad's side and my mum's side, like kind of, I never really asked my mum, and then when she starts sort of telling me, and then I was talking to my sort of other cousins and that, and they were like, yeah, like, because I think that was the other thing, like, there's the Filipino mix from my grandmother, but then she's also there's Italian somewhere.
Yeah, right.
From somewhere. Yeah, which is like, oh, what? Okay. So there's it's just basically actually sitting down and talking. Oh, look, where was great grandma from? Where was great grandpa from? And how come? Because hang on, you're saying we're Burmese, but the name doesn't. I can't speak it, and I'm pretty sure it's not Smith. Smith is not a Burmese name. My grandfather's name was Jimmy.
Fuck.
No. Yeah.
Did you cop a lot of racism growing up because of your skin?
Yeah, heaps of like. I actually copped because where like Belmont, where I grew up, Belmont was like I had heaps of Aboriginal friends and stuff. So it was like kind of kids just calling you like coon and boong like constantly, And I didn't even know, like we just didn't know. But I had all Aboriginal friends, but then like other crew just like even just kind of I didn't really think about it, but then now that I think about it, it's like man, crew are like just yell shit out in there, like nonchalant,
Yeah.
today is very different to what like it was. And even in high school, like there's kind of this, like there's like the whole apartheid in the education system. Like Aboriginal crew had their own separate class. Like they came to school, but then they had their separate class. Weird. Yeah, man. Tripped. And I mean, like now I think about it, I was like, fuck, that's fucking tripped. Like
that's bad.
One of my good mates, I think he was like in all the like normal class in high school, but I think his old man like was pretty like, nah, I want him to have like the white man education. He's not just staying in that, you know, just because he's Aboriginal. I want him to have higher education. Pretty clever because he's a lawyer now.
Yeah, right. Nice.
But yeah, like we always like, but yeah, I suppose, yeah, like it was weird because we didn't really. It was sort of, and that it's just the racism was kind of just wasn't anything violent.
Just the undertone.
It was more just walking around and people just yelling shit out.
Yeah, which is,
you know, like
still violent. Still horrible. You
but yeah, like
look at him now, hey? Look at him now.
But in saying that, the school, like, it wasn't just, it's pretty kind of mixed up and diverse. So there wasn't everyone was sort of friends with anyone. No one really had any kind of, there wasn't real racism kind of in the school. Fights just happened because like it was just a group of a bunch of one cunts and then other cunts just fighting each other.
Yeah. Just like school kids.
It just wasn't, and you know, then it's like other schools, you know, coming over, and then that's when it sort of got pretty crazy. But it wasn't really, the racism was more like just people just yelling shit at each other. Like, you know, like if I go to the shops, I'm crossing like a road, and then there's someone in the car, and they like slam the brakes on, and they just fucking yell out, "Get out the road, you fucking."
Really? Shit.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
But we were so young, it didn't have the gravity it does today.
Nah.
Hectic.
Yeah, well, considering they're like completely off, you know, because you know,
well, that's what racism is, isn't it? It's just like it's just basically fucking, I just look at you and you're fall in this category, or I'm gonna, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fucking bastards. Yeah. All right, we'll move on. That's interesting though. I would have thought you would have been like, you know, racial, like Asian racial slurs, but that's.
Nah, man, that's the weird thing. I remember telling my mum, like, cause I was like, oh, these people are calling me like, you know, these names and that, and I think I probably would have been about 7 years old, because I didn't understand it, and it wasn't until I realised then, and my mum was like, oh, whoever told you that, don't let them say that to you. That's a really bad word, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I won't use that, you know, like, I didn't realise what, you know, didn't know what it was.
You don't, because like my mum was really racist, like, you know, white privilege racist, and she used to use those two words that you said before, and I had Aboriginal friends, and I just, you know, mum says it, I just thought it was normal, so I used those words, and I was taught very, very swiftly they're not the words to use, mate, you know. And what I thought was a swear word, what I thought was a bad word was nunga, but nunga is what the South Australian, like, you know, you got nungas and kuris and murrays, so nunga is the South Australian one, the South Australian mob, and I thought that was the bad word. But, you know, I was lucky I had good Aboriginal friends, and they were, you know, I copped
they kind of showed you that.
I copped a crack in the face, but, you know, they were older than me. They knew.
I was lucky because, like, I thought it was a slur for, like, when I was growing up, I thought it was like, you're a little kid, you just get called that name as a kid. Right. I didn't think it was a racial slur until my mum told me.
You just thought it was like grommet.
But yeah, like kind of get called a grommet, but then like that's the name of the adult, because it was only adults that really called me that.
Yeah.
Sexist, man.
That's fine.
But I was like, oh man, that's just,
It's pretty bad that adults are abusing a child as well.
He's like walking across the street. I was just at the shops, we're like hanging out together. And I think it was because, like, obviously because I had Aboriginal friends in that as well.
Yeah. Growing
up, that just by association, they, you know, like, yeah, you look sort of same colour.
Yeah.
Like that's as shallow. I mean, that's as
Yeah.
shallow as it is. You know,
Yeah.
like
That's racism in a nutshell, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Mm.
It's just yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the music, mate.
Yeah.
So, when people come on that are to do with music, sort of to start them off, I ask, and I'm interested myself. Obviously, that's why the question's there. Is what was your introduction in? Here we go. What was your? I'm not even drunk. What was your introduction to hip hop? Like, as a young fella, how did you get introduced to it?
Probably the first element was b-boying. So would have been 84. It's like 4 years old, 5 years old, because all my older cousins were into it, and that at that time, you know, like watching all those like videos and just watching them do it, I was like, oh, I want to do this now.
Yeah.
And the first tape I heard would have been Public Enemy that my cousin gave me to listen to was what was it? It was Yo Bum Rush the Show. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
And he lent it to me. I just listened to that nonstop, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, oh, man, this is awesome. And then the thing with music that kind of drew me to it was the turntablism part of it.
Yeah, right.
And just watching like what's that guy doing on like the record player? Because I had a record player, and then what I used to do is have like, it's like, you know, like those old kind of ones where you like switch it from tape or radio.
Yeah.
And then on my one, you could do two things at once if you push both the buttons down.
Nice.
So I used to basically cut to the radio and spun out. I had this Sesame Street record. I wish I still had it. Yeah. I had this like Sesame Street record that I used to just scratch and just completely destroyed my like little record player, and then up to when the needle was just drilled. Because it's one of those ones that it's only meant to go one way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was more my cousins and extended family, like pretty much, that really like introduced me to it, and the b-boy aspect, because we all wanted to basically break. And I think that explosion in the mid, you know, like, yeah, the mid 80s, yeah, pretty much got me into it. And that's where it started.
Yeah, right. So, sorry,
Yeah.
mate, I just got a bit distracted. There's a fucking big fly in here. It's on some fucking Breaking Bad shit. That's why I just flicked the microphone and got him. Just have that through the whole session. So, that's pretty young, man, to be listening to Public Enemy.
Yeah.
That's pretty influential music to be listening to at 4.
Yeah, and but then like I never really, after that, like I reckon I listened to that, and then and also Run DMC. He had Run DMC. I just remember that was the first tape that he gave to me to listen to, my older cousin Michael. And then but they also he had heaps of Run DMC as well. So just listening to all that, Beastie Boys. I can't remember what else there was. I can't really remember it. That's all I kind of really remember.
That's pretty early.
But then, yeah, it's pretty early, man. And then like I guess after that, the thing with my extended family, or both sides, were like the whole music side. Probably that's why the music side appealed to me more, because apart from that, everyone was basically, like, my grandfather from my mum's side taught all the males in the family how to play drums.
Yeah, right.
It was just like, and so my mum and my uncles and aunties and that, it was a family band. So my grandfather was just basically like, what's his name? From is it Tyke Jackson? What's his name? The Jackson family, the dad.
Oh, Joe Jackson.
Yeah, he's just full hardcore, like just making him practice every day, and just like started this family band. Like after they like kind of left Burma, because of the like, I think they were just getting out because it was like the regime change when they went full fucking like militia.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like pretty much what was going on now, you know, like what's going on now again.
Yeah.
They basically left, and then he was teaching music at the time, and they were basically like this band. And then when they left, he just basically, like toured Malaysia, came down to Australia, and they just played music. And then so all that kind of music inspiration, I guess, watching them play live and just going growing up, going to like pubs and that.
So it's in the
and
family,
the whole
mate.
band element. Yeah. And then we're just by default, you're just basically learning drums.
Because you actually play the drums, don't you?
So we all play drums. My brother actually came more of a like the drummer, I guess, the pro drummer. But we all still play drums. Like we all could still play drums. He just kind of practiced and went real serious into it. But then I just sort of came back to it. And I think the beat making thing was, well, the thing is I learned drums, and then in like school they're like, oh, you should go play classical guitar. I was like, okay. And then I didn't really want to because everyone was playing drums. Gave that up. And then my grandfather was like, oh, I'll teach you piano. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll learn a bit of that. I think because my mum sings as well, like I probably just used to watch her sing and go, oh, that's the vocal thing and that.
Mm.
And then, yeah, like I think after primary school, like got back into drumming because there was a school band and could play drums.
Mm.
And then the actual percussion teacher that we had was like fucking hell hot. We all had a crush on her. So I was like, if I could play drums again. We all used to just like, there was a few of us, like two of us just couldn't play for shit, but it was just like, man, just hell hot, eh?
big lineup.
yeah, like just a whole bunch of dudes just playing drums.
That's funny.
But yeah, like that was like early, and then when she left, we all basically stopped playing. But then, but like that time, around that time, but in primary school, like after the whole thing, like I remember there was like karaoke machines came out where you could kind of play, and there was a mic.
Yeah. And
you could kind of play stuff, obviously on one tape, but then record on another tape with the mic. So it was like basically, and then like with a couple of my mates in primary school, we did like this first ever thing. Because, like I think it was like 80, what year was that? Would have been, fucking how old was I? Shit. Would have been 90, 10 or was that 11? I think it was 91. But we'd been listening to NWA and all that. Mm. So then we had access to fucking this karaoke machine. We did this track called Running from the Pigs. It is just full NWA ripoff of, what's that? What was that EP?
The NWA one?
It's the one, yeah, it's obviously the one where Cube's not in it.
Just don't bite it in that.
Yeah, 100 Miles and Running.
Yeah.
Because that's where we got Running from the Pigs from.
Yeah.
That whole vibe. But we jacked the instrumental of Fear of a Black Planet, the intro instrumental.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I always love that instrumental.
Yeah, it's dope, hey.
Oh, God, man. I've got to find that. I've got to find it. It's so hilarious. We're just trying to be like little NWA dudes.
What, you reckon you'd have it? You reckon you'd have it somewhere?
Oh, probably, but I don't know. Because I remember once finding it again in high school, just listening to laughing, and my mate, like, that I was friends with in primary school as well at the time, we kind of sort of grew up in high school, and then, like, I just, like, caught up with him again and showed, like, as I found the tape, I was like, man, listen to this dude, like, listen to how young we are, we're just, like, what are we talking about? Just, like,
crazy.
Just, like, NWA shit.
Sample it. That's so gold, eh? I got my first beat I made somewhere, like in the hard drive somewhere. I was searching through some shit when I moved up here, and I found this folder, and I'm like, fucking, what's this? And it was the first beat I ever made on a PlayStation Music 2000.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I'm like, because you remember you just drop and drag. You couldn't put your own samples in or anything like that. But I remember real clearly the day I did it. Like, I had like a Tascam.
That would have been when the first station was 95, was it?
Well, it was called Music 2000, so I don't know if that had anything to do with the year. But no, it was out before.
Oh, yeah. No, because the PlayStation came out in 95. I remember that because I'm pretty sure I was like year 10, which is 15.
Yeah.
I was 15, and my mate got it because we were too poor to get a PlayStation. My mate was poor as well, but I think that that's all he wanted. And then we used to just go play fucking. We used to get play Mega Drive. Because we were full gamers. Well, this is where like the whole beat making thing for me started was computers, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Because I had a gamer from the fucking start, man. Atari. I had an Atari 7800, not the 26, but the 7800.
Yeah.
Then I got a Commodore 64.
How good were they?
Yeah, man. And then after that we got a PC, and then that's after the PC thing, and it was all because of gaming, like playing Doom and shit. I was sort of into like I was into like keyboards and have like beats and trying to make beats on keyboards without realizing it.
Yeah.
And it always, because the drumming side, like I'd try and play it in, but couldn't figure out ways to kind of make my own patterns. Then what was the first one I used? I think it would have been Cakewalk or...
Yeah, that was a good program.
Yeah, the first Cakewalk, there was no audio on it. It was only MIDI sequencing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and at the time, I don't know how I found out that I needed it, or I just got it, and it was a sound card called the All 16 or 32. And what this sound card was it had 16 megabytes of sampling memory.
Shit.
The samples, and you basically make these you make these programs on this sound card which had sample memory. Trippy, eh?
Yeah.
So we used to chop it up into I think it was Soundforge.
Yeah.
I had a crack at like Soundforge.
Yeah, that was good. That was just single channel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
And then chop it up, and then there was this other program called it's called Vienna. This is the thing for this Soundforge, the Sound Blaster, Creative, like this All 32 or 16 or something.
Yeah. And
then that program basically allowed you to map the samples to a keyboard.
Nice.
Patch, and you make a patch, and then you load the patch in Cakewalk, and you MIDI sequence the beat. And so the thing is I made these beats, but there wasn't a way to render the beat out. Yeah. So we had to. What we did was I just recorded them on tape.
And then what? Yeah. Did you have like a multi-track tape Tascam or something?
Nah, just cassette, man. So it's too expensive.
Cool Edit Pro was that other program I was thinking of. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That's a good one, man. That was really good when that came out. I think I used that a bit as well.
It was good for cutting shit up and cleaning all your samples before you took it somewhere else. It had really good features like real simple shit like reverse. And you could
and fade,
de-esser, fade, so you could have a real slight fade at the start of your sample, get rid of all your clicks and pops, and it had a click and pop fucking thing too, eh? So have all these rusty samples come in and they come out looking like fucking something Dre fucking recorded.
Just polished.
Yeah.
Oh. Fuck. And then now thinking about, man, you look at like the software now, it's just like far out. Yeah. How easy it is now.
Yeah, the more advanced the software is, the lazier I get, I reckon.
Yeah, well that you do, man. Like I think about it now, how much of a pain in the ass it would be to make something on this old shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going, fuck, man, like I started making like beats and that with that rig, and then I think as I got to the end of like probably when I was like 17, I think that's where left school, and I was like, I want to go and like learn more about like sound engineering now, and like go into this because I'm figuring out sampling, and I'm doing all this stuff and like making beats. Because me and my mate were also at the time as well, like because 36 James came out.
Yeah.
So that was where like the sample thing started for me.
Yeah.
That's actually. I heard other hip hop that sampled, but I think I don't know, something about 36 Chambers was like. Yeah, and then the whole Woo thing.
It was real raw.
We used to bump Woo hips.
It was real obvious, wasn't it? I didn't know for years that fucking. I think I've said it on the show before, but like listening to NWA and Eazy-E and Ice-T and all that, and then you go and hear Curtis Mayfield or Parliament, and you're like, "Oi, that's Ice Cube. Yeah. That's Ice Cube, man." And you're like, "No." I had this older mate. He's like, "No, you've got it twisted, mate." But Wu-Tang was real obvious that it was a sample. Because it wasn't polished like Dre did. It was like really raw.
Yeah, Dre was actually really good. Like, the way he kind of did stuff was, it didn't sound like it was sampled.
Nah, because I used
It's
to
weird. But you
how
think
they
about it
do it.
now, it's like, oh yeah, that's a sample. But
But still,
I don't know.
it'd be hard to emulate some of his early beats, man.
Yeah,
Even with all the knowledge of, like, Ice Cube has that Death Certificate album out, and
yeah,
it's every fucking song that was ever used on there. Even like the start of a Michael Jackson song for the doorbell ringing, and he
yeah,
goes, "Tell your little daddy what is it? Nappy dugout." So, just
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah,
if he used like 1 second of that song, it's on this album, so you can pretty well recreate what Sir Jinx did on that album if you know what you're doing. But a fucking big,
yeah. Right.
pretty good challenge for someone to try and emulate that whole album.
Oh man, totally.
Yeah, because did you watch that fucking Wu-Tang series that came out?
No, I haven't.
There's a little
What?
like 8 episode thing that comes out. It's and it
It's
shows
on
how
Net. Is it on Netflix or Stan?
it's on one of them. I think Stan. I think
Yeah.
I downloaded Stan for free just to get it. Yeah, and
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
it has him like has the RZA, and he goes and he tries to gank a SP 1200. He ends up getting one, and it shows you, and you're like, "Fuck, is that how you do it?" So it's pretty much sample, and you hit the button. It looks much like the desk I'm using to record this, but you just have controller levels and their pitch, So then you just bring it
Yeah.
down, and it's like, "Fucking that how you did it, man!" Like, and I was saying to someone recently, I think there was a lot more creativity back then because you only had 2 seconds of sample time there. So you really had to
Yeah.
fucking make that sample work, man, I remember...
Yeah. Well, I think what happened is, like, obviously by default, like, it's like, oh, okay, you can't just feel like you quickly kind of go, oh, okay, I've run out of memory. Oh, okay, I've run out of memory. Then you start listening to the records and then imagining kind of parts together, which is kind of the term of like traditionally what a producer is. So I'm not talking about producer in the sense of like, beat makers. I'm talking about producers as like, this guy produced this record for this band.
Yeah.
The producer was this guy.
Created the sounds, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the guy that like, like a band's actually playing everything.
Yeah.
Plays the song and the producer's sitting there and he goes, wait, stop. Let's try this part here. The riff you were playing, can you try and play these notes to it? It doesn't work. There's something clashing there. And then you come in with the drums. It's kind of, you start thinking like, you hear something and then you know what it should be almost.
Yeah. A good example of that is the Chili Peppers, like their big break with Blood Sugar Sex Magic was Rick Rubin behind it. Before that, not many people know about it, but the Chili Peppers brought an album out that was produced by George Clinton, and it fucking stinks of George Clinton. But it wasn't until they had Rick Rubin on board, like executive producer behind it. So the term producer is loosely thrown around these days,
Yeah.
Beat maker, producer, like I just say I make beats. I don't really say I'm a producer because
I don't say producer as well. I kind of make beats.
Yeah.
I make beats.
I say I steal other people's music and rearrange it. if that. Sometimes it's just theft and loop.
Yeah.
Shit. So when do you start taking it seriously? Like, what's your first drop? Is that Eponymous?
Yeah, that's what it would have been. It's when I met Scotty, because so when I left school, like, and went to the TAFE, is when I met Scotty, because I was like, just like, oh, okay, I'm just in this class and there's all this crew around, and then, I make beats, because at the time, my mum, I figured out, like, because the other thing is, like, and then I got into Dre again, like, probably at the same time as also listening to what's it called? At the same time listening to 36 Chambers, was it Fridays? The Friday soundtrack? I can't remember why I started listening to Dre again. Oh no, you know what it was? It's like All Eyes on Me. Yeah, like I was like, I started getting into that, and my old lady had this thing called a MIDI player, backing track MIDI player.
Yeah.
But really, what it was a called kind of. Yeah, it was a sequencer that had just basically like a sound module.
Yeah.
And then I figured out I connected to the computer because I think the sound card had like that All 32 thing also had MIDI.
Yeah.
So I was sampling and basically doing what Dre was doing, sampling and using a MIDI sequencer, and started making all these kind of fucking Dre beats because I was just writing to him as well. So I was exploring kind of both that kind of chopping breaks and samples and doing the Dre thing.
So how old are you now? 17 then, when you're doing this?
Yeah, I would have been about 17.
And so before you spiral off, that's my next question is how did you meet the Downside Boys? So
I pretty much met Scotty at TAFE. So when I went to TAFE,
Scotty is Optimus, listeners.
Optimus, yeah. So I met Optimus in TAFE, and at the time, like, they were like, I think, because I didn't really kind of recognize them. Oh, the first time I came in, I noticed, like, you know, when Scotty kind of walks in the room, like, who's this guy?
He's just that gorgeous bastard.
Yeah. Because he had the Bob Marley shirt on with, I think, I can't even remember what he, like. And I was like, yeah, who's this guy? And he was like, hey, man, what's going on? I was like, because he saw, like, I brought in this MIDI sequence. He's like, oh, there's a beat maker. I don't have to try and figure out how to make beats. I can just rap. So I think he must have been like, hey, man, what do you do? He's like, man, I make beats. And he's like, what? Oh, sweet, man. Oh, and he's going to have a listen. I was like, yeah, sure. And he goes, oh, man, that's it. And then, he showed me Behind the Bucket. They just did it, Behind the Bucket. So I heard this thing and I was like, what is this shit, man? Because this is basically the first time I've heard Australian hip hop. Yeah. And I'm going, sick. What's this? This is dope. I've never heard this before. This is dope. And he's, do you want to come with us to this place called Yuriyakan? The Yuriyakan was this like theatre company in Perth. They're still going now. And we actually do a lot of stuff with these guys to this day. But like Yuriyakan, like, yeah, go to this place Yuriyakan. They've got like recording gear and like all this other stuff there, man. Do you want to come in and like do some stuff? And I was like, hell yeah. And then that's where I met Shabazz.
Yeah.
And pretty much, yeah, that was it. Like, we started going into Yuriyakan, and basically that was the start of Epinonymous, because then they had, I can't remember what sampler keyword was there. Some Emu sample. I didn't really use it that much. Scotty and that was using it, but because I had the computer, it was just easier. Yeah. To use that, and I was already.
So you're talking about a hardware sampler, like a Roland or something like that.
Yeah, there was actual keyboard hardware sampler there, but I couldn't remember exactly what one it was. And now I'm spewing now, because, you know, like, you kind of get into it, like, later. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder what that was there. But that's where we first used the multi-track DAT tapes. Well, I was using them in TAFE, but then I figured out, like, when I started learning about that stuff, because this is pre-Pro Tools as well. Like, Pro Tools still wasn't out. Yeah. There wasn't actually any computerized audio recorder. It was still all, there was computers, but it was all MIDI sequencing. There was no audio recording stuff. Yeah. So we basically learned how to record on ADAT.
Fuck.
Yeah, digital 8-track. So I actually learned like mixing and engineering on an analog console with analog gear at the TAFE. And I kind of just picked it up real quick because it was just like, I don't know. I was just into it. And then that's where, like, when we used to go back to Uriak, and I just figured out, because they didn't really figure out the DAT tape that well, but then I kind of, oh man, we can use this many channels and we can lay vocals on it and stuff like that. And I was like, fucking hell. And we used to kind of take, because at the time when I first met them, we weren't allowed to take stuff from Uriak, and when we kind of started making beats and making some tracks, I was, oh, that was sick. And then, like, Scotty used to hook up all these gigs, like with councils and stuff. And, like, we never had, it's the guy who, like, at the time was DJ Adam, I can't remember his last name.
So you couldn't take what you made there?
Well, the only way to take it is on a Walkman. We used to play, like, the instrumentals on cassette to a massive PA. So, you know, that first, like, when you press play, it's like,
yeah.
I did that on the PA. I just always laugh when we used to do that. just rock up to this massive PA in like a council like gig, like a council festival thing. Just like, and then the set would play because we just recorded on cassette.
That's funny.
Because like, our turntables like, that DJ at the time, like if he couldn't make it, like I'd have to off a Walkman.
So are you going back to like with this talk I had with Mass? He was talking about some of the first shit he did was not digital, and how pressing that analog shit to a record, that's when you get that fucking big boom sound off of vinyl because there's no digital. So is that Eponymous? Is that an analog album?
Nah,
or you recorded onto that, so that becomes.
It was. Well, we recorded that. Hang on, where did we record that? Because Eponymous then, that was the dawn of the digital audio recorder.
Yeah.
So then what happened is we were almost going to go and we recorded some tracks at tape, and then software programs came out going audio recording programs, and you could actually record like, I think 2 or 4 tracks in a project with the MIDI sequencing. And so when that happened, it was like, oh man, this is killer. We don't need to go to a studio.
Do it at home.
Because when we started, when I was recording at tape, it was like, you got to book it in, and then it's like digital ADAT tape. It was a fucking pain in the ass. It wasn't, but it was like, this is just the way you do it. And then it was like, oh man, how easy it now, like this program, like you can record things. And it was like, oh yeah, cool. And I learned kind of about like the whole vocal processing thing there at the TAFE, but then figured, okay, we need like a compressor, and I've got to run it through like, basically some sort of mixer.
Yeah. Because
at the time we couldn't afford a channel strip, but you get like basically a mixer and a compressor. So like I used like Eponymous was recorded with like the DBX 166 compressor, I think it is.
I still got one of them.
yeah. And then an SM58 into like a Yamaha MG mixer, old school Yamaha MG mixer. Yeah.
Nice.
That going into a Creative Sound Blaster card.
Nice.
And that was Eponymous.
Wait,
and then, but what we did
sound.
is we then tracked it out onto I think it was tape. So the master, I think the pre-master went to tape. Who mastered it? And then this drum and bass, then we digitized that, and then this drum and bass producer named Greg, I can't remember exactly his name, but it will probably be on the Eponymous thing, but he was Adrian Sardi, that's it. Yeah, he mastered it for us.
Yeah, right.
Drum and bass producer.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how he mastered.
Do you remember, right? The greatest intro to an album of all time is on that album. I interviewed you years and years and years ago for an Onion magazine about your production, and your answer was, I don't know, ask Army. But
yeah,
what is that?
It was that Army place.
What is that sample, man?
I don't know. Army had this. We were just fucking hell ripped and just fully lost it. It's like, man, let's take a beat out of it. And then like, I think Scotty heard it. Man, let's use it for the intro. I was like, all right.
Is it another language?
Nah. It's just a dude singing, and he's just singing like.
So good, eh?
Yeah. Oh man, I just sort of vaguely remember just being really fucking like bent and that Army's place. And we were just there, but I don't know, we just found it. We go, let's try and make a beat out of it.
So that's
all right.
That's 2000. So 2000, you've dropped that. Then So 2002. So then you start getting a bit busy here, right? So 2002, Dundee L, all right? So of course, with our good mate, rest in peace, Hunter. A classic album, probably fucking one of the very, very few Australian vinyls I don't have. Yeah, I know.
Might have to hook you up, mate.
Ooh.
I always have secret stashes of the stuff.
All right, definitely talk off air. So can you talk about what it was like working with Rob making that, and just go into a few things, because wasn't Jam Roll the first that was that on that album? Jam Roll?
Nah,
No,
Jam
that
Rolls
was
on
Culture Kings.
Culture. Yeah, yeah.
So that was
And that's actually
first
Scotty.
song.
Scotty produced that.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh well,
Hey?
scrap that. But can you tell us what it was like working with Rob back then? Because that was a pretty hard hitting album,
Oh,
man.
man. He's like the easiest person to work with, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or it could be the hardest, because if you're like really, if you're like, no, we got to fix this. Nah, that's the way. Nah, but you did it. Nah, man, that's the take. That's how it is.
He was
All
just
right.
happy with it.
Yeah, but he was really like, because I was such a like tweaker, like in terms of just engineering, and I was just right into that. He would get really fucking just, man, just fucking record your verse, just like it fucking sounds awesome, like, you know, like. So he kind of pushed me to kind of finish stuff and just move on, whereas I pushed him to kind of, no, man, like let's just redo this bit, or let's kind of make it better. So we were kind of, but it was heaps fun, like just doing stuff with him, because
Yeah.
you know, like if you're around Hunter and you do something, he just, yeah, you just like, man, like, you know, he just was so into whatever you were doing and your craft.
Yeah. Real supportive.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah. Super supportive. And I don't know, like we just, yeah, making music with him was really easy. Super easy.
Because you could just knock songs out real quick, hey, like write them.
Yeah, man. Like that's probably the big thing I miss about kind of doing music with Hunt is like, because, you know, like I just make a beat and he'd be, oh man, love this, and he just write something there and there. No, I've got to record it now. Oh, okay, cool. Nah, that's it. Like, send it to me now. It's like, let me just just send it to me like that. I want to listen to it. And then he just like, you know, like message me or like call me and just go, man, this is fucking killer. Let's help out. Like, just really G you up. And he's like, okay, yeah, sick. So a lot of Done Deal wasn't like us labouring over stuff, umming and ahhing about tunes. It was really just like bang, bang, bang. Nothing was like, should we do this? Oh, should we redo that? I don't know. Like a lot of the earlier stuff wasn't like, it was just like, here's the beat. I've done it. We're not going to go over the drums and engineer it. We're not going to redo that bass line. We're not going to you know what I mean? We're not going to redo that lyric. That's the lyric as it is. That's how you recorded it at the time. Very much like that. I think it's just because, you know, like that kind of limited, the limitation, you know, like the limitation of space and just the gear and yeah.
He was very confident in himself too. Like I remember when I first met him, he came over to Adelaide and T said, "Oh, Hunter's coming over," and I was a bit like, "Whoa, all right, fuck, sick." Better put some nice clothes on. But he came over and he's listened to some beats and he's like, that's fucking sick. That beat right there, that's sick. Put that back on. You know, he's like, got any paper? Like pen and paper. He's like, we should do a track together, us four right here. And I'm like,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, I'll do a track with Hunter. Hell yeah, because we were still a bit green, you know, back then.
Yeah.
And he just knocked it out. I've still got it floating around somewhere. We used the beat for something else. It never went anywhere. I still got it around somewhere. And he's like, yeah, I'll get in the booth now, because he knew he was going back to Perth, you know. And so he had a gig that night, so he knocked it out. And he was like, that's fine, you boys do whatever you want with it. And he was just happy to walk away with it. And we're sitting there, we're fucking re-recording and trying to fucking sound as good as him. And, you know, this, that, the other. And he's just done this 16 and walked away. And he had enough foresight to also, like, just go, yeah, beats and concepts. You know, he had Hunter, Perth, SBX. He had that foresight to just leave just little gems that could be mixed into it later. And he's like, there you go, see you later. You know?
Yeah.
I have to find it. And then I only worked with him twice. I worked with him when he was Crook. I did a song where I was real hesitant to ask him. I said, I've got this track where I'm Cancer, and I'm gonna come at you, and I want you to be you. And and battle me on track, but I didn't release it because he passed away. And I didn't. Yeah. I don't want to. You know. I didn't. just didn't feel right releasing it after without talking to him about it. But
yeah.
it's pretty deep. I think we sent it to the master to like DJ Master to do cuts on it. So,
Yeah.
So him and Concepts and Hunter and Master probably the only people that ever heard it. But
yeah, right.
yeah, it was pretty.
Man.
And even then, like to not bow down, like I was real reluctant to ask him, like, man, can you do this song? And he's like, that's a fucking fantastic idea. Yeah, let's do it. He's like, I'm gonna fucking get you on this track because he was so confident he was gonna beat the cancer as well, man. Like, I was just another, It's just another hurdle for him, eh? You know, he was like,
yeah.
I'll get you on this track if that's who you want to be. You sure about that, Beatsy? You know, fucking yeah, people could learn a lot from him.
Yeah, that's it. It was just that, like, I always talk about what makes a good MC, and one thing, like, I always reckon that, and this is what Hunter has, and it's conviction.
Yeah.
Like if you think about but there's bars and stuff, and people really good bars. It's until they get conviction in their voice that makes them, because they can talk about like nothing. But the conviction behind it just makes it like, man, that was dope. Like,
believable.
Yeah, and like Hunter, I think that whole thing of like confidence and conviction, like that Hunter had, was real unique.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like people, you know, call him a great, and he is. He's an OG, and he's a great. But you go back and listen to some of it now. It wasn't that technical.
No.
He was just telling, like Jam Roll, for example. That's a fucking classic story. But it's like, nah, mate, stay at home and play with me knob. You know, that's not technical, but like you said, it's convincing.
Yeah, it's so convincing.
You can paint a picture.
Yeah, that's it.
Classic.
It's so good, man.
So while we're talking about him, so just quickly, the Robert Hunter Cup. Did you kick any goals?
Yeah, I was.
Nah.
What was I doing? I was in the middle, running around trying to get the ball. I tackled Crew. I know I tackled some Crew.
Yeah, that Guernsey on you. I reckon they got out. They got the first one. I'm wearing like a skin tight fucking Guernsey, and you're in like a fucking 7XL. Like, do you want to swap Guernseys? Fucking, that was good. That was a good thing.
Oh, such good fun, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that that went down, and lucky to be part of it, eh?
Oh man, it was amazing, man. It was amazing to see like just everyone.
Yeah.
Just everyone there, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So good.
It was. That was like a country, because that was the real first soldier we lost. I mean, a couple people had died, but I don't think they had the impact Hunts did on everyone, because he was just Hunts, you know. And he would have liked that. He would have liked it. He was
that kind of, he was that ambassador for what we were essentially doing, this like new thing. Like, he was so confident in this new thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Australian hip hop, man, was like, he had the most belief in it.
Yeah.
He had the most belief in it. Yeah. And if you were doing it, like, he'll let you know, and he'll tell you, like, you know, like, yeah.
He had a lot of people's back, man. Like, I know people that, like, down the track, you sort of talk to people and you talk about Hunts, and they're like, yeah, man, I had this experience with Hunts, and I'm like, I never would have expected Hunter to give you the time of day, just because either they were really young back then, or, you know, they weren't on my radar, they weren't my type of music. But then, you know, like, heaps of support. So I reckon if you were in, mate. Like, he didn't.
Yeah, that's it.
I never heard him really bag anyone out. He never like beefing with anyone or had any dramas. And over the conversations I've had on here and just with people over time and at the footy games and that, talking with people, it was always like, man, he always supported me. He always pushed me. He always believed in me. You know, that was one of his traits, I reckon.
Yeah, that's it. That's sure. That. No, I mean that. Yeah, that was him. That's all there. Like I said, he was like he was the biggest believer in this thing. Like,
yeah,
and yeah, it didn't matter what.
He had a body of work, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, sad stuff. Rest in peace, Hunt. All right, we better move
RIP,
on.
my bro.
Eh?
Yeah. No, I was just saying RIP.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, we'll move on. So you also, hang on a minute, you also produce Fridays, yeah?
Yeah.
Matty B. So do you get any royalty checks off of that?
Yeah.
Because that was like, didn't Triple J stop playing that because I was sick of cunts ringing in?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know actually what the story was, but that was I don't because I don't know whether I made that for Matty or it was something I made, and he was the first person to hear it, and he goes, "Oh, I've got this perfect song for this."
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember if I made it and then he wrote to it. I can't remember exactly the story, but yeah, like I know what I did make it out of. And I asked my cousin, it was like, because my cousin's like this, like, killer kind of jazz saxophone player.
Yeah, right.
And he had this trio, and they did this record, like this little CD of this, like a little EP. And he gave me the CD, and I was listening to it. Do you mind if I make something out? Like, he goes, yeah, go for it. And then,
Right.
yeah, that was Fridays.
So that's an original Australian sample then? That.
Yeah.
I might play that. I might play that right here in the podcast if that's all right.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Good, Matty, what's been happening?
Not a lot. Hey, what's happening this Friday? Is there any parties or anything?
No, I don't know, man.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find something to do, right? A few coldies?
Yeah.
No worries, mate. I'll talk to you then. I love Fridays because it's time to relax, maybe go do some graph or to spin and...
All right. So then, bang. So 2000, you've dropped 2002 Dundee L, 2003 Land of the Giants. So you're in with Downside. You've been together with them since the first album. So this was released through Hydrofunk and then was on Virgin, yeah?
I don't know.
Land of the Giants, you were signed to a label.
Land of the Giants was with Hydrofunk.
Yeah, but was put out by Virgin.
It was EMI.
EMI, was it?
Hydrofunk EMI, but then maybe Virgin, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was EMI, because the funny thing about this EMI, so like, because Hydrofunk was basically like the little sub-label through EMI.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think, well, what did we want to do? We did the single, because we did a first single, and then the second, which was Gifted Life.
Oh, yeah,
that went really well.
Yeah, that was good.
And then we did
El Questro.
El Questro, but for El Questro single, what we wanted to see if we could get an advance of EMI for a film clip.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah.
Really?
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So our manager at the time, Sloaney, he was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. So it's not going to give us that. And then after the record lands, the Land of Giant has pretty has the good sales and stuff. EMI like, oh, we want to meet you guys and blah blah blah, and take you out to dinner. The dinner's going to be enough. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then we were like, oh yes, we're going to meet with this thing. Where are we going? And then Sloaney's like, I don't know. There's some restaurant in Chinatown or something. I can't exactly remember, but we ended up going to this place, and it's like a private room and stuff like that. Then they're like, you guys can order anything you want. We're like, oh, right, okay. And then we're looking at we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then they had all these drinks and expensive wines and stuff. And Sloaney's just like fucking full, doesn't care, just basically just says things out of the open. And he was like, near the end, it was like, so thanks for the expensive dinner and that. Because we look at the bill and was like, Jesus Christ, almost the cost of a film clip. And he goes, but we prefer if you just took us to Hungry Jack's and gave us some money so we could make the film clip.
Mad.
Yeah, so mad. And they were just like, oh. We just kind of just all laughed. But you could kind of see that I was like, oh yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, eh? So they're fronting on the bunda for a film clip.
Yeah, we just Slaney just proposed an advance, like just to basically put the film clip out, like or just give us an advance so we can do a film clip because Hydro Funk's basically Dave Dog and Catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we weren't going to basically bust their balls for that. We were just going to go through EMI, and yeah. I'm just trying to think who the other team was. There was a few other guys. I'm just so bad I can't remember.
So Hydro Funk.
Smash.
I'm just looking at a Hydro Funk sticker in my studio right now. So Hydro Funk were on EMI, or they were on a label, and how did that come about? How did that come about? You getting signed?
Well, because Hydro. What is it? Oh man,
Resin Dogs.
Yeah, the Doggies. At the time when they were touring before us, like they were kind of doing the national tour thing just before us.
Yeah.
And Sloaney was booking them because Sloaney was basically not really a bandman. He was a promoter, pretty big promoter in Perth, pretty prominent promoter in Perth at the time.
Yeah.
That was like the key for us, basically, that got us a lot of shit. But anyway, so I think then the Doggies, we did like a support, and then we like just basically got along with Dave and Catch and all the boys, and they were like, oh, check this out, and then like Sony was like, you know what, I reckon we should, he basically said let's put the record out through these guys, and I think that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, right, and that was just for one album.
I think it was a one album thing, and. Why did we? There was something that happened why we only did that one record, and then
Obese happened.
Nah, it wasn't actually that. It was because Sloaney didn't want us to go on to Obese.
All right.
Yeah, he already was like, I don't trust pegs. So we're like, nah, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like, oh man, like that basically, like, I can't remember what happened with the Hydro Funk thing, but I know with Pegs, when that all happened, we were like, because, Sloaney was like, look, I mean, like, the Hydro Funk thing is like, you guys, with Obese, what was his thing? He was like, I don't know about this Pegs guy. I was like, why? Just from a few emails and how I've been dealing with him, I just don't know about him. There's something about it. I think it's smelly, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we kind of, but everything kind of went ahead because we pushed for it because we wanted to be on Obese with Obese, man. It was the crew.
Yeah.
And, and then there was a few kind of dealings with the contract and negotiations where like Sloaney, I guess, Pegs was just being Pegs with Sloaney. And then, like, we went and had this meeting, and, like, we're still kind of friends with Pegs and stuff. And Sloaney's like, all right, got to start up a thing. Look, Pegs, I just reckon you're being a cunt. Like, you're just being dodgy, like, and, like, I could just see Pegs. Like, he's just saying it to his face.
Yeah, right.
And, like, I was like, oh, fuck, it's going to go down. But Pegs basically held himself together and just took it like he was boiling, man.
Yeah.
He came after and he goes, man, I was going to fucking smash fucking Sloaney, but because you're my boys, I fucking, we're just going to work it out and work through it.
Fucking hell. Because he's pretty straight, I was going to say.
Hey?
I was going to say he's pretty straight.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. But I think, it's just like, that was just like a thing of, Pegs is pretty like, because even with the Layla contract, he's pretty like, I think it's like, this is the way it's going to be. But he was still kind of diplomatic in the emails when he would say stuff like, oh, look, having people look over it. But then when it came to it, like, I'd changed stuff in the contract for La. And he's like, what the fuck do you think you're fucking doing? Blah, 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 blah. And then at the time, there was Shogun. So I was like, oh, cool. I'll just go to Shogun. And then he just sent an email back, nah, man, it's all right.
I mean, that's the old saying, business and friends, eh? It's hard,
yeah.
It's hard to sort of, because I guess he had to be like that. You know, he's got
Yeah, man.
other
Well,
artists on the
like,
roster
it's a
and shit.
business, man. Like,
Mm.
as much as everyone's like, like, I don't have any, like, I can understand why he would be like that, because it's like you kind of plan things out and you're hoping this is going to go this way.
Yeah.
But like with labels and like negotiating, you basically, you got to make sure you fucking get it right for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and he probably just didn't. There probably was, maybe there was an inexperience of like kind of dealing with that industry, like, and how it worked, like going backwards and forwards and negotiating and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like if he's coming, you coming from that street shit. It's like fucking this is the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to have him on. I'd like to get him on for a chat, but I don't know if he will.
Yeah. Like I never had an issue with Pegs. I understand like the whole business side of things is like, it is frustrating. You try to negotiate shit, and like I just know like to keep cool and like really just, all right, well, let's do this, but we want to do this, and do this. It's just like, it's just business. Yeah.
But he would have he never took away any creative control of the sound, did he?
Of sound?
Yeah.
Well, no, not from us, no.
He was because he's pretty big on that. I think I was seeing him in an interview saying that that's one thing he created Obese for, is so that, artists could be themselves and,
put
themselves.
No, not at all. It was just more it's more the like little finicky things of the contract, like, you want this much, you want that much, blah blah blah, push around that, push on this, pull on that, just the little like details, which is what like artists should never be afraid to just basically like fucking just pull your dick out and go, nah, fuck that, we don't want that.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna go like this.
Got to negotiate your worth for sure.
Man, that's it, and not even that, like, and kind of understanding like how all that stuff works, because like in the end, people just get angry in the end if it's not right for them,
And then it all falls apart.
It falls apart, like, which probably the whole thing with Obese was sort of like that, because no one really knew what they were doing. It was all new, man. Like even for Pegs, like, man, he's never fucking run like, who knew fucking the label was going to just fucking grow like that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, true.
Then all of a sudden it's just this fucking beast. And there's money involved. And the beast just keeps growing and growing, like the fucking thing from Spirited Away, like, rah, it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It was good times. It's a good era. Yeah, like I said, I'd love to chat to him, get his take on it. But I think he's moved on. I think he's
if you do, he's what up, Pegs?
Yeah.
What's going on, my bro?
Yeah.
It's fucking long time too, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I think he just moved on. I know he sold all his records, because I was looking at having to dig through them, but he wanted them all sold in one hit, and well.
Yeah, right.
Shit happens. All right, so then a year later you drop When the Dust Settles.
Yeah.
But hang on, in between this, you've just dropped Heretic. So you're pretty busy doing the Task Force and Pegs.
Yeah.
And then When the Dust Settles. So this is fucking 23 tracks on this one, mate. And two of my favourite joints on here is Anyone Can Do It, Less Fortunate, and Anyone Can Do It. Fuck, man. That was that and The Calling. This album here and The Calling were my 2004 fucking soundtrack, man. Ask anyone who knew me around then. Less Fortunate and Anyone Can Do It, back to back in my car. Boom, let's go.
Well, because Less Fortunate's like, well, when I made that was basically, so again, Sloaney manager, like, Sloaney he's just basically heavily into reggae and shit.
Yeah, that's the other sample I asked you in that question, that you're the finest thing. What is that? Let the Vinyl Spin, or You're the Finest Thing? Do you know?
What's that? In what?
In Less Fortunate, that you're the finest thing. I don't know how the fuck it's. Someone's gonna grab that audio grab, man. It's either let the vinyl spin or You're the Finest Thing. You'll have to listen to it, mate, and tell me, because I asked you.
I'm gonna have to listen to it. I'm trying to think what you're bloody talking about, because
it's the main sample behind it. You're the finest thing.
That's not a. It's not a vocal.
Is-
It's. I think it's a guitar wah
yeah, right.
that's in the sample, but the samples I got a bunch. Sloaney got me heavily into Augustus Pablo,
Yeah.
and he's real funny because this guy's basically this dude who plays the melodious over like reggae, heavy like mad reggae, like
Yeah.
mad chilled out reggae. And so I think, I just started listening to heaps of this stuff, and I was like, oh man, shit's dope, like, and then figured out like, Augustus Pablo is just this dude who just basically just, I don't know whether he had heaps of cash and just went, just got all these like mad reggae dudes to just play, do this record on, or bunch of records. But it's funny listening to all those records because like a lot of the tunes, they just, when they went into the studio, like they just kept like the outtakes.
Yeah.
Like, so the band starts and fucks up, and I'll start again.
Yeah, that's,
Like a few of the songs was just like it starts, and they just didn't cut like the band fucking up the intro, and then they just start again.
and you were taking them all.
Yeah.
Did you also sample?
But I just like used to like listening to the mistakes.
Yeah. I can see there, little stoner, like, oh, that's mine. Wait, did you sample the Specials Ghost Town as well?
What's that?
The group The Specials, Ghost Town? This town is coming like a ghost town. Did you sample that once? Out of the several hundred songs you got out there?
Some of the stuff I got, but like, because Scotty's the digger as well. Like,
yeah, right.
Me and Scotty used to go digging a lot. Scotty's a digger as well, and he'd make beats as well. So, because anyone can do it, it's actually Scotty's dig. He dug that sample, started it, and I reckon we should make a beat out of this. I think he just kind of chopped it up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And then I just basically went in real ham with it. Like, yeah.
Put some Dazastah dust.
But at the
on
time, and then at the time as well, that track, because we had Cheeky on bass.
Oh, of course.
He laid all the bass line and extra bits.
Mm. That gave you guys such a big sound having Cheeky A. Like,
oh yeah, man.
Definitely gave you that big sound.
It just added like a whole new like kind of he added like a lot of musicality in terms of, because he just come from this different, like Cheeky wasn't a hip hop head like we were.
No.
So he's come from like, oh, we know this guy, he's into samplers and like, like hardware shit for the live show, but he want to play. I think at the time, because we had a drummer, and then we were trying another guy on bass, but he was still with this other band. We couldn't fully get him, and they're like, oh, I know this guy from this group called Circus Murders. He's just gone on a trip to Japan, and he's just come back, and he'll probably be keen because he's into it. And then we met the dude, and it was like, oh yeah, fucking, you're pretty cool, and quirky. And then and that's how because like we were trying to transition from what were we using? Well, we were using the decks. But then when we went into the whole, like, having the drum kit, what were we doing that? I can't even remember. Because I think when Cheeky came along, that's where he's like, me and him used to talk tech about samplers and how we were going to run the show live.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how, like, that whole time with, well, it was Land of Giants. He's still joining Land of Giants.
Mm. So he's part of Downside, isn't he? And because there's there's one stage where there's a whole heap of you, hey? Like
well, we still consider like everyone who's like basically like from the original is still the crew, but it's like they're just not doing music anymore because
So that's a question. That's this question I got here. Is like, I'll just jump forward a few.
Yeah.
So why did Shabazz leave?
Oh, just because it was really family, like.
Yeah.
It was family, like it was really, when he got the family and he decided to settle down, it was like, oh, Baz, let's do a rehearsal, Baz, let's do that. And he like got the family, and then he kind of married, and then it got hard because he was studying and working. So it was like, now you're going off and doing this music thing. Like, what are you guys doing? Where's all, You know, like, because the money thing, like, you know, Baz was just basically writing lyrics. Like, me and Scotty were doing production, the heavy writing. So we got more of that kind of check.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't as big. And then it just started slowing down because then we stopped kind of doing stuff because everyone was basically doing family stuff, like Scotty as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So the work, what's it called?
Work-life balance.
Yeah, the work thing just basically like got in the way, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Work and family life, like it's just, yeah, you can't. But then sometimes I think about it, it's like, because now when we do a record, like how long the song takes to finish compared to the old days, it's like, now I can't be bothered. I just want to make the beat now. So it's sort of like, that's why I love the MPC now, like, and that's how I kind of got into MPCs as well. Like, I was kind of late with the MPC, I guess.
Yeah.
If you want to say that. The first one we got was the 2000 XL, I think it was.
Are you
Special
sponsored?
edition?
Are you sponsored by Akai or something?
Nah.
How come? What's with all the posts of all the fucking different drum machines? Is it because you work at the shop?
Work at the shop, but then I was kind of I did like a few like kind of demo things. Like I got hooked up by the blokes at Electric Factory to kind of just do some demos and stuff because I guess they were just the whole new line of stuff came out and I was like, oh yeah, because they hadn't done anything for ages since like the 5000.
Yeah.
I think the 5000 and the 500 was the last machine for a while, and it just sort of went quiet. And then they announced the new like the Ren, the software MPC, and then I was like jumped on that, and they're like, oh man, we need some crew to do this, and you work at a music shop as well. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, right.
And sort of hooked up with that. So I got to go around and do a few things like that. And then kind of these new ones have gone back to standalone as well. Well, to both. It's like standalone and software. But yeah, like
So
we kind of
Bose
moved.
are getting into it, are they?
Sorry?
Did you say Bose? Like BOS?
Both.
BOS.
Oh, no, not both. No. Well, both are still around, but
both.
no, I mean both as in like it's standalone and with software you
okay.
can kind of run it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you meant
The
the
new
brand, the speaker brand. Yeah, right.
Nah. But yeah, like that, the whole MPC thing was like, because we needed a way to basically run our tracks live. Because we started getting into this thing of like, we need to separate like the stems. Because when we went to like live drum setup vibe with the bass player and that, was the sound engineer, what was his name, who kind of said you should do this. It's like, if you do this live and separate your tracks, as in basically have stems live, I can mix you guys better on different systems.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, what? Because we just used to like, trigger the song off Serato.
Having a mix down,
or
yeah.
like, and then this is where this whole thing started off like, then we were on the quest to find a playback system that basically can play our tracks, but then you have the samples, then vocal samples are separate, like percussion loops and drum loops are separate, bass lines are separate, because then when Cheeky came along, he was sort of not really playing bass, and then he just said, I just want to play bass. So then we just took out all the bass lines and he'd just play everything live. Same with the drums, like it was like we were kind of really experimenting with like acoustic drums, but then triggers as well.
Yeah, right. Gone are the days of rocking up to a show with a CD.
Oh man, a fucking cassette player, Walkman.
You were all over that. You were all over it with your live show. It was really cool.
Yeah, well,
really
me
cool
and
to see.
Cheeky were just crazy tech heads. So like we just fully nerd out and geek out on, because I've always been like, come from that Commodore 64 gaming thing.
Yeah.
You just nerd out and like just go, what can the tech do? Like, there's this software that does this, man. Oh man, these samplers, like we can do this, and if we get this basically like scuzzy hardware fucking thing built into the S5000, we can stream the tracks, man. And we won't have to cut up and sequence the chops because of the limited memory.
Yeah.
Just think about that. We were running stems through an MPC 2000 XL, like 8 tracks out, but we had to fucking resequence everything because you could only fucking store like 32 megabytes off a zip drive. We used to load our set, a 40-minute set. We had 2 zip drives. Load one, then do an intermission thing where it was a freestyle thing while the other half loaded, the other set loaded.
Yeah, right. Fucking hell, mate.
And you know who sold us the MPC?
Who?
Reflux from Derridge's. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Crazy, eh? So crazy, man.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
But
having
yeah,
a chat with him too, Flashy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a good
It's
one.
just crazy, like how, like, yeah, I don't know. I can't remember where we got the S5000 from, but yeah, like that man, we just recently sent that off, or maybe it was last year, to like Melbourne University. They did this like Music Hall of Fame thing or something.
Really?
Yeah, fucking apparently it's in some fucking Melbourne museum.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
Just Australian music figures, like, oh yeah, like it's like all the music equipment from the bands in Australia.
Yeah, nice.
So they're like hit us up. Oh, we just want to know what you use and if you want to donate your thing to be like a piece in a museum. Like, okay.
That's heaps.
Yeah,
cool.
we use like the S5000, and then there's these wireless mics from Sabine, which are like this fucking. They're now a military grade like communications thing for like fucking like
walkie-talkies.
warplanes and shit.
Oh, that's good that they thought of you for that. They've probably got
Yeah, it's
Debris
really
old,
fun out, man.
They've probably got Debris' old fucking Roland sampler.
Probably, man. Like,
Crazy.
and that was cool as well. I remember when like those days, like the Culture Kings days, and like basically going and before like you know before the explosion, like the calling and that,
Yeah.
and just hanging out in the like in Baz's lab in the back.
Yeah. I was gonna say you guys would have had hell nerd talks, hey?
Oh fucking hell, man! Me and Baz are nerd out hard. It's just always nerded out. We catch up. Oh fucking that's sick. Yeah, fucking got this thing, and then like randomly when I catch up with you, he's just like just down just talking about expensive nerd shit. I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun, better. Oh fuck, that sounds fucking hell excited. I wish I could fucking get that.
Yeah, he must have some crazy shit now, eh?
Oh, last I spoke to him, he's like right into like the RC shit.
What's that remote control?
Yeah, and he showed me this photo of this thing, and it's like, I think it was at a skate park. It's just fucking like, yeah, looks fucking mad fun. I've always been like, that'd be mad. I didn't really get into it, like, in terms of like, I guess this is other shit, but I was into it as a young kid.
Mm.
Remember, was it the Grasshopper?
Oh,
Was that
yeah.
the one?
The Jet Hopper.
Jet Hopper.
The Jet Hopper and the Hornet. The Hornet was the
The
next,
Hornet.
The next one
I think the Hornet was the one after the Jet Hopper.
Yeah, there was
I had
the
a Jet Hopper.
next size up and next money grade up, like next pay grade.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just talking about them recently. Fuck. There's some listeners out there the same age as us going, fucking Jet Hoppers.
Yo, you see the target looking like a bomb. Ladies front because he got the plain tees from Kmart. Needed cops and burn clothing. Australia's digital street brand. Murder's been in the hip hop scene since day one. 22 years in the game and ain't going nowhere. Premium tees, hoodies, headwear, and more. Listeners use code 10, that's TEN, at checkout to get 10% off your next purchase. Burn, they ain't done, they ain't going nowhere. Visit burnclothing.com.au.
All right, where were we? 2004. Boom. 4 years before you drop All City, right?
Yeah.
And then fucking 9 years before you drop Classic Ill. What's going on in that 9 years, mate?
That's it. Like, the songs are getting harder. We're getting more like, like you get attuned to every little thing now. Things that we start going into this thing of like, the songs are not, it's not finished. We're going away from this, like, and then plus the whole thing of,
Time.
limited time.
And what? So
we're like,
perfectionism and time.
Perfectionism and time, which is like, it's sort of at the same time, like when I'm in the moment of like kind of thing, we've got to finish this. This is doing my head. I can hear these clicks and pops here, like tech and software is just so ridiculously good now that the engineering side of it, like you can just do so much, which is kind of like a curse at the same time.
Yeah, for you it would be.
Oh, it's horrible, man. Because I use Reaper now, and that's just basically ridiculously open in terms of how you can work.
Yeah.
It's not really fixed in terms of how you want to do shit, like compared to say like Pro Tools or any of the other software programs. They all have their quirks and like how they will work, but Reaper's like very like open. So there's so many ways you can do shit and so much you can kind of do. Weird automation stuff. Like I actually nerd out a lot with Daniel's son because I found out he was a Reaper head, and then he's just on another level. But yeah, like just how, like the guy who actually did Reaper is like, he was the guy who made Winamp.
Okay.
You remember Winamp?
The old player, yeah.
Yeah. So he made that, and then I think he like AOL got involved. Like I think he sold it to AOL or something, and then they hired him to basically kind of stay on. But then he wasn't down with the whole corporate vibe, so he left. And then he's like, and then he was using Sony Vegas.
How do you spell this other one? Reefer, as in the smoke.
Reaper.
Oh, Reaper.
Like the Reaper.
Okay.
Oh man, have you not used Reaper?
Nah.
Bro. It's the fucking one, dude.
Yeah, right.
It's the fucking, yeah.
So what do you mean it doesn't constrict you to what, snap and lock?
Well, you know,
like
a track, right?
Like that?
If you're going to do a MIDI track, you have to kind of load a MIDI track and then point it to like a thing. In this, like a track, you just add a track in, and it can have MIDI and audio on it at the same time. You can send and receive shit from any track to any track. So a track's not just an audio recording track. It can be an auxiliary. It can be a subgroup. That can be anything.
Fuck.
Like it's, yeah.
Maybe I don't want that.
I know, man. Right? That's probably why these fucking records are taking longer. As soon as I went to that, and like everything just took ages because it's like, it's so quick, but yet like, oh man, I could do this, and I could fucking send this here and make it automate there, and I can make the reverb fucking like automatically kind of fucking go up and down, or like have a longer tail based on what the kick drum's doing. You do all this crazy shit. It's just fucking, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Because
and then like,
sorry mate, keep going.
Yeah, and then basically like it's got an open API, which basically means like, yeah, a bunch of dudes, if they're into programming and stuff, they can kind of write add-ons.
Yeah, right. So
to extend the functionality of it. There's a lot of extended.
A living document.
Sorry?
So it's like a living document, like you can add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. It's kind of so there's a lot of like, because they got their own kind of plugin engine, you know, and a lot of dudes just go on there and just make this free shit, and some of the stuff like, you know, like paid stuff, plugins that are coming out. There's like stuff that just exists in Reaper that's free.
Yeah, right.
It's just crazy, man. The stuff that's in there, like it's not a lot of cups of tea for people, because, you know, like now with all the new stuff, the graphical user interface is really nice. It's just, you know, there's the visual feedback of stuff and how it works is really nice.
Yeah.
There's some, because Reaper's still very like, it uses like the basic Windows kind of like graphical user interface.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of people just get put off by that, but yeah. I don't know.
It's not very aesthetic. So, but I can imagine you being into it, because I was listening to a few tracks this week, like knowing that you were coming on, and you've got like some of your use of delays, like in one line in particular, when cancer come and tells them they got to depart, part, that delay goes for fucking almost the rest of the song. And I remember picking up on that, because I love delays. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a good little trick when you're producing to chuck a delay, and it just molds things in. But I don't have.
Yeah,
I don't
I
have
got it.
one that delays that long. I used to in Fruity Loops, but not in Logic. Logic not anymore. They have like a 16 slap. That's about as far as you go, I reckon. So I can imagine you
Nah,
getting
you
bogged
can.
down in this new program, loving it.
Yeah, I kind of that's I think because I don't have that whole automation thing and mixing and stuff like that. Like I kind of learned it off a dude when we did Land the Giants, this engineer, and he's kind of like this just rock engineer. So never done like hip hop, and then Slaney's like, I'm gonna get this guy, and he'd be really good. He loves smoking weed and stuff, so it'd be good. I was like, okay. So we were like, everyone, all of us were like, oh yeah, sick. Let's get this dude. We smoke heaps of weed. We smoke heaps of weed. Let's do it. And then he the first time I saw people mix in a song, and they mixed according to parts of the song rather than just level. So like normally you might mix. All right, my verse is coming here, and I want my verse to sit at a certain level on the beat.
Yeah,
just going across, and that's it. He would do little things like listen to it. Oh, that's got to pop a bit more. So he'd just automate it up a bit, and then send a bit of verb to it just there.
Okay.
And then pull it down again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What are you doing that for? Nah, just listen to it. And then I'd sit there and listen to it and go, oh, fuck, yeah. Same with the hook. So, like, Land of the Giants was mixed. That's when I, like, he would do, like, things like brighten the horns up in, like, the hook only and then pull it back down again.
It's pretty noticeable.
When the verse came in.
It's very noticeable on that album.
Yeah. He'd push and pull, like, little things, like, up and down, like, in the mix. Like, the drum loop would basically kind of go a little bit more compressed in the hook and then like back off a bit. Crazy shit, man. Because that's when it all started coming out. And I was just like, oh man, like we used to just like, that's the level of the drum, done. That's the level of the bass, done. Like. Yeah.
I remember.
So now thinking about that, why things take 9 years long? I've just taken that and just gone into like, fuck man, I'm automating, like I'm going to try with this fucking third fucking vocal layer in the hook. I'm going to like slowly kind of pan it and make it fucking like, stereoize, and then slowly increase the verb decay when it gets near the end of it. Cause
you get lost. I remember
the fucking head mind mess of like just automation and stuff. It's just, crazy.
I remember seeing some Hoods files and their chorus, like just fucking layers and layers and layers of vocals,
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, we'll do like verse, back up, bit of so yeah. And then seeing this, I think it was like I don't even know what song it is. Might have been Hard Road around that time, but this was just like P had like 30 fucking takes, in there, and who knows what Debris doing with each channel, that'd be some fucking witchery, some sorcery, man.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is like when you get the level right, like layers, sometimes you don't really actually need to do. That's the kind of thing with layers is that if the vocal's super clean and then you have all those layers to work with, you're really kind of just doing level stuff rather than doing effects. Because the effect is the layer. Yeah. The layers. It's not like effects to wash it out and kind of mush it up.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I don't know what. I never actually talked to Bazza about that, what they were doing, but because Dazastah he gets right into his layers, or at the time of like, I think it was Who Am I, like that's where it was like layer stuff started, and then after that it just got hectic, like with more layers, and really kind of tightening them up, and fuck.
Are you still working with him?
Sometimes, but he Paulie would just hit me up like when he's like, oh man, can you just try something like this? Oh, I just need a bit of help with this. I'm just really stuck on that. So I'll just sort of like help him out. Yeah. But it's like, because it's like in the end, like it got to a point where it's like he is an engineer. Like everyone's kind of an engineer. That's just more of that thing of like some people just know how to use the program quicker. Yeah. And so then the more you kind of do it, the more quicker you get out of it because you're just using it. So he basically engineers mostly a lot of his stuff, and
Really?
then we'll just send off. Yeah, and then we'll send it off to like the masterer or mixer, another mixer to kind of and redo it,
Fuck.
master it. But he's still like, nah, it's not right. This sounds wrong. This sounds wrong. Like his ears fucking crazy, dude.
It's working for
You
him.
can do like the minute change in a full mix, and you'll hear it.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that about him.
Oh yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
But it's working for him.
Yeah, yeah, like it's, oh man, he's right into, I mean, like, yeah, at the start as well, like, that whole before, it would have been before, a lot of us were doing beat making as well, but I think, like, people gravitated towards their thing, you know, like, obviously. So he was more into kind of penning stuff down, but then would make beats, because, you know, there's something about the beat he wanted better or something, so he'd try and make beats and learn about it.
Yeah.
So he knows the beat making process as well, like, because he was doing it back in the day.
Right. That's
Messing around with acid.
surprising that he went to other people to do it then, like, you know, because Trials did all that fucking Life of Riley and all that, eh?
Yeah, well, I remember at the time, because he hit me up, and I didn't really like working on too many projects at once.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to kind of stick with a project and like just nut it out. I mean, usually that's how I like doing stuff. But then as time got on, it was just like all this stuff's coming in. You got to do this, got to do that. And I've got 3 projects on the ground. It's like, oh man, it's doing my head in.
Mortar's knocking at you.
Jumping all over the shop. Yeah. So at the time, I think he went to T because at the time we just did Who Am I, and then I moved on to another project. Can't remember what. Oh, it might have been A Bitch Named Hip Hop.
Oh, that was so good, man.
Yeah, it might have been A Bitch Named Hip Hop.
That was such
So
a
I was
fucking
working on
incredible
that at
album.
the time, and he wanted me to kind of, man, have you got time to do this? I want to really like nub down. I was like, I've started this. I've got to finish this, man. Like, you know, like, he's, oh man, fucking, why are you working with that fucking cunt? Work with me.
Yeah, that
And then,
bitch
yeah.
named Hip Hop was fucking incredible, man. That Black Velvet and the fucking
Yeah, it was
so
it,
good.
it,
At the
it was
Strippers.
interesting. Yeah, and that all that stuff was sort of similar to how I worked with Hans, because Tomo was just basically like, you just do the beat, and when you're done, or as you're doing it, I'll start writing. And he goes, you just arrange it, and I'll write to the arrangement.
Because he can write over anything, eh?
Yeah, yeah. So like, if you listen to a lot of that record instrumentally, like I made the instrumental first and planned it out musically,
Yeah,
and he wrote to that.
yeah.
Because you know what track is it? I think it might be. What song is it? There's a song that's the sample of the chicks like singing all through it.
Not baby love, not baby love.
Nah, like through the verses and stuff, and it sounds like she's backing him up.
Yeah, right. It's
If
not,
you actually
not,
listen
not
to
not the Shirley Manson, not the Black Velvet.
No, not Black Velvet. It's one of the tracks. It sounds real orchestral-ish,
Yeah, right.
very orchestral-ish. Piano, ding, ding, ding. I'll have to look. I can't remember all this. Like, I just remember like making that track, and I kind of made the beat around this whole song, and replayed everything and kind of arranged it a little bit. But then we left her vocal in, and then he wrote around it and made it sound like she was singing to his lyrics
It's not
to back him up.
Not the Social Graces one.
Nah, not that one either. What's the song called?
I got it here. Straight out of Tiger Corridor, Sith Lord, Spoken Homing Beacons, I'm Sorry I Hate You, Cry Me a River, Love to Love You, Now I'm in the House, At the Strippers, Social Graces, Every Corner, The Breakup Begins, Phantom
Might
of
be
the
the
Hip
breakup begins. Eh? Or what?
The Phantom of Hip Hop Era,
Nah.
I Know You've Tried, Right or Wrong.
I Know You've Tried.
I Know You've Tried.
I think it might. I Know You've Tried, or It's Right or Wrong, or I Know You've Tried. One of those two.
Yeah, he's talented. I've invited him on, but he said yes, but I just got to get him down to a time. And I know he's just got a little one too. So yeah, that'll be interesting. All right, I've had you 2 hours, mate. I just want to get through a few things.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit of a ranter.
No, that's all right. I was thinking, fuck, when I looked before it was at an hour, I'm like, maybe we could split it up into 2 sessions. Then I don't have to do one next week. So just quickly, Benji being in the group, what's that like? How's that all going? And what, you got anything coming out soon?
Yeah, so Benny because obviously Baz took a step down, and then we were helping Benny out. Obviously, he was just kind of doing stuff as local, and then Scotty was like, "Oh man, let's get. You want to see if Benny wants to kind of see? He's been hanging out with us and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, cool, man." And then we asked Baz, obviously, and then all good. And then so we've been writing this record for like, when did we start this? Jesus.
I was speaking to Scotty about doing some workshops, and he said to me, "Oi, Beats, I could tell you something, mate. Don't tell anyone. No one knows yet. It hasn't been official, but Benji's coming in. Baz is going. Benji's coming in." So that I've been up here 2 years now. It's got to be over 4 years.
Yeah.
Got to be 4 years.
But we've been we started kind of working on the record.
So we can wait another 6 years, you reckon?
6 years and we'll be ready. Now, we've actually finished. We're really close to finishing. But I've been kind of trying to push to kind of change everything and just release like singles, like everyone else is, but singles as in 12s.
Yeah, sick.
And I want to have everything as 12, but each 12 has something unique on it. So there is kind of a plan. I probably shouldn't tell everyone, but but I think like we're gonna do, because odds, the track odds that we kind of already like video release.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do a 12 for that, and every video we do have a 12 release for it. So that 12 is gonna have that track. I think it's odds and only got now, and then on one side it's going to be odds and maybe the instrumentals, and the other side on one side it was going to be odds and only got now, and on the other side it was going to be the stems of only got now. So like there's just a separated beat.
What?
Bits of
No, I like it.
If people could just sample it, it's like a what the fuck?
No, that's heaps.
Remix it. Yeah, and the acapella. That's the acapella and
Yeah, right. That's crazy. So what, people would have to record it in and time it themselves to fuck around with it?
Yeah.
Listen to you. Nah, it's...
that's how acapellas were on that.
Yeah. Well, I like that because when there was a time where you could get the play school stems, and I've still got them, and I didn't enter the contest. I didn't make anything out of it, but just having them, it's kind of special. Like, that's play school, man, And you've got it. So I sort of sit there, and when I'm mucking around with my lad, I'm like, drag this in. What's that? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what's that? I don't know. And you put them all together, and he's like, wow. And he used the term. He goes, how did you pull the song apart? And I'm like, that's a very good use of words, because that's... I've built it. I said I didn't pull it apart. I've built it with what was given to me. Having stems. I remember Suff had fucking Michael Jackson stems, man. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, there was this dude on YouTube, man, who basically I don't know what he had, man. He must have had worked at some studio. He uploaded on his YouTube account, and I ripped a few stuff but he had crazy stems, man. Just there was a few Michael Jackson stuff, there's Bob Marley stuff, there's heaps of stuff. I was just like, where did this guy get all this stuff? It's crazy.
Unreal, eh? Imagine that. Imagine having the stems to Thriller.
Oh, I've got it.
Well, were you part of that Motown remix?
What's that? The what?
Were you part of that Motown remix album? I never even heard it. I know Suffer had a beat on there because he had
The Motown ring.
because he had a Jackson 5 remix that he did, but I never. I don't know if it was meant to be bigger than it was or what happened, but I never fucking heard it. But I know,
Yeah, right.
I know that he had a Jackson 5 or a Michael Jackson stems. Crazy.
Yeah, right.
All right, next.
Crazy.
Next.
Yeah. Yeah.
GL3. So just a warning, man. That mortar, I don't know if you can trust that man. Like, nah, I gotta read you something. Ready? This is a message to Mortar that I sent. All right. Oi, you got any dirt on Daz? He's coming on the show. I want to drop it during the interview. Something he wouldn't think that I knew. Something funny. Mortar's reply: there is no dirt to be had on Daz. He's an angel. He's above reproach, and any suggestion that he does not uphold angelic qualities, I would take on as a personal affront. Be on your way, peasant. You do not deserve to parlay with the gods in such a manner as to elevate your common status to the same level with jocular antics. You are one of the great unwashed, while Daz is unsullied.
Man. Oh, Mortar.
He's a funny cunt, mate.
He's a funny, eh?
Yeah. I had him on a few weeks back, and he was razzing you up, and I'm like, oh, God. He's like, I have to talk with us about Daz because he's got to do GL3 too. So that's my question. How did that come about? And because that's got some pretty hard-hitting production on it too, man. So kudos on that. Come to think about it, you pretty well produced some of my favourite songs, hey?
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Bitch name hip hop. That GL3, you know, that's heavy, man. So what's going on with that? You got that's done, is it? They're waiting on you to like.
Yeah, well, it actually got done, and then there were some cuts that Mortar wanted to add on a few, like one of the tracks.
Yeah.
So then there's just cuts on 2 tracks that we're just waiting on now, and then
nice.
Shaker actually just sent it today, I think.
Nice.
The email today that came through. So.
Nice.
But yeah, that was like that should be. We were hoping to have it last year or even the year before, and it's just like, oh yeah. Again, like too many things getting thrown at me, and I didn't get to focus. The whole GL3 thing was another thing. Was like those, like checkers and Mortar are of that same thing as like just getting in and just they hear something and just penning it down and just in, out, bang, like, yeah. I really like that. But what worked when we finished the first one really quickly was that, like I kind of made a bunch of beats then with Mortar. He then took it and hung out Checkers. They wrote, recorded. Then we came back to Perth. Well, I went there for a couple of times because I was playing or gigging or whatever, or with Dazastah or doing downside stuff, and then link up with Checkers.
Yeah.
And then we'd sit together, and most of the stuff got done when we sat together, which is what I like doing. Like, I don't like kind of sitting in my own element without the person I'm working with.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, that basically like that first record really kind of pumped out really quick for the amount of tracks.
Yeah.
But and it almost happened for this record, like because I went there and I think within how many beats did I make within 7 days? I think it was 20 or something.
Fuck.
Just locked in, man, just cranking out. But they were even faster.
Writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fucking makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where the fuck did you get that content from?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I worked with Mortar while he was in Adelaide, and he's just a machine. Hey, on the writing.
Oh man,
absolute beast.
They just have like Checkers and Mortar, like they're heavy thinkers.
Yeah,
heavy thinkers.
Yeah, definitely.
And then,
for lack of better words.
yeah. I'd consider myself a thinker as well, but it's like, yeah, like we all kind of G'd on the GL3 stuff as well, like it's all our kind of thing, thinking about it. And then when Mortar sort of hit me up, like, do you want to do beats with this project or something? Yes. And it was like this is the vibe. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, cool. And so he'd bring some samples, and I'd have some vibes, and then once I'll make a beat out of this. It's like, let's try that. Nah, it doesn't work. Yeah, let's try it. Oh man, that's sick. Because it was that whole kind of like,
dark,
you
industrial.
know, just think like Blade Runner and that. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah. I know he always comes up with like a theme, doesn't he? Just think about this.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's all theme based, and it's like, yeah, sick. But I like that too. Like I mean, like you know, like a lot of the done deal thing and all the syllabolic stuff is kind of that vibe. You know, like there's some theme of the track.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the whole GL3 thing. And then we basically got Dash to do the artwork.
Oh yeah, and it just tied it all in, didn't it?
Oh man,
You know.
that guy's machine. He's a legend, dude.
Did you feel?
That's a legend.
Do you feel a bit of pressure to make this second one sound similar or better?
Nah, I mean, like, that's the thing with Mortar. It's just like, you know, let's do this again, okay?
Yeah.
And, well, you know, same, we'll try a bit of this and try a bit of that. I was like, yeah, right. I'm just like, let's get in there and just not think about it. It's like, yep, cool.
He's got a good work ethic.
When we hear it, we'll just write to it. Yep.
Yeah.
There's sort of that hunter in us.
Yeah. It's that syllabolicism. He's definitely got a good work ethic, Mortar.
Oh, man, he's heavy with the work ethic, man. It's killer. It's really good.
All right. What else have I got here? Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So, yeah, again, congratulations for marrying the Royal Highness of Oz Hip Hop and having the baby. But what's your fucking nappy game like, mate?
The nappy game's on point, mate. Go in, like, basically one wipe.
No shit on the fingers.
No shit on the fingers. I can, like, lick my fingers clean. That's how confident I am. All I can taste is wipe.
Oh, man. Oh, that's good.
Well, I wouldn't do that. After he goes to solids, I'll probably, like, reconsider about doing that. But the smell would just be like,
man,
but nah, yeah.
You got a long way to go, mate. The Punamis, you get shit halfway out their back on the car seat, mate. You ain't seen nothing yet, brother.
Well, yeah, I've been hearing, like, he's done, like, a few, like, things where it's gone up his back and stuff, and it's, like, all up his front and on his stomach and stuff. I was like, what the fuck did you get on your stomach, dude? Your chest, man. Like, how much fucking power for it to, like, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's a blessing, isn't it, man? You got some beautiful fucking times coming up ahead of you, mate. Like, trust me. Like,
it's amazing.
I've got a granddaughter older than your lad, so that's
what?
I've got a 2-year-old granddaughter.
Jesus Christ! Fuck, we are old, man.
Yeah. Oh God! All right, we'll wrap it up, mate. There's a few things we sort of brushed over. That's all good. It's been a good chat, man. What I do towards the end, I just get you to just quickly brush over because you're more on the production tip. Just go top 5 dead or alive producers.
Yep. So
go.
Top 5 dead or alive producers. Definitely Premier.
Yeah.
Dre. Pete Rock. What's his name? I've had a bloody Knots.
Who's that?
Knots.
Nots.
Nottz.
Okay.
Yeah, check him out, dude. He's fucking killer. That's 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to. And Large Professor.
Oh yeah. That's it. That's interesting. 'Cause would you say you're influenced by all those?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't have picked that. You got more of an industrial sound. I was expecting you to go down like fucking LP down that road.
Nah, yeah.
All right. So this other one I have is so if you could send yourself back a fortune cookie with one sentence in it, written in it, with some advice and give it to yourself when you were younger, at whatever age you want, what would it be? What would it say? And it's probably going to be the name of the podcast.
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
You haven't made enough mistakes in life, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Too fucking too confident in my own shit. Like it's like, yeah, I don't have any. I've done everything right.
Be confident, like the never-ending story. Be confident.
Be confident. Be confident.
Be confident, Atreyu.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Kind of a question, isn't it? I don't even know how to answer it. I think I tried fucking last year.
It's a kind of a question. That is such a cunt of a question. Because then you're like, hang on, fucking now I'm like pondering and like, hang on, was all the things I did was a mistake? How can I make those better? Hang on, was that a mistake being a producer? Like, fuck, you know what? Like, nah, actually, I should have done accounting or financial fucking, yes. Learn how money works.
Oh yeah, that's not.
Learn how money works.
Learn.
Not because not because it's about the dollars, but because like money's power.
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've just been looking into like cryptocurrency and that recently. So...
Yeah, I wish I fucking got onto that because Cheeky told me about that when I fucking almost like pretty much first met him when it first started.
Fuck.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin first started, he started telling me about this thing, and I was like, whatever, Carl. I don't give a shit about it. Man, it's going to be big, man. It's going to be big.
Did he buy some? Does he have some?
Yeah, because I keep asking, he's like, man, what fucking... And he just does this laugh, this cheeky laugh, like I fucking told you. Like, I was like, well, what the fuck?
There's a few, dudes were onto it real early. I know Mad Cat was onto it pretty early. Fuck.
Yeah, like a few. Yeah, like I know Cheeky, and then I think I spoke to. There's a guy at the shop, the music shop, that sort of got onto it early as well. He yeah,
fuck.
Yeah.
If I could turn back time.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah, that's true. I wish I could fucking turn back time. Wouldn't be for money.
If I could turn back time.
All right, so how can people find you, mate, on social media? Do you want them to find you? Or?
Oh man, I turn all the notifications off on my phone.
Yeah.
So like people like message me on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, I am on there, like I am randomly on there, like just posting shit, but I hardly basically reply because it's like I've got a fucking little kid.
Yeah. I
want to make beats. I fucking do surfing now too.
Surfing.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
It's fucking killer. I'm fucking stupid. I never did that. All right, that's what I say. Take up surfing.
All right, take up surfing. Be confident.
Fuck, man, Matty B, man. Like, I started playing drums like with this dude because I was doing these workshops in like the Gascoyne area.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Come out surfing with me, man." I was like, "Fuck that, I'm not coming out surfing." And I was like, fucking, I'm come out surfing. What's all this fucking fuss about? Go out and just get pummeled in this fucking down south of Murray River.
Yeah.
And then I went and and then I was like, I kind of like this. Then I went a couple of times more with him and started getting the bug because I was like, I fucking got up then. And then I went and had a lesson with Matty B, and then he's in Gracetown, and fucking got like some pretty long rides out of that. And I was like, fuck, this shit's fucking killer.
Yeah.
And because I used to play ball, like, and I can't, just fucking can't play like I used to.
Yeah.
It's too jarring on the knees and shit.
Yeah.
And then like fucking surfing's the fucking thing now. It's like fucking over me making rap music too. And fucking surfing.
Yeah, I'd like to learn to surf. I think I need to drop a few kgs first. But where I live now, there's fucking surf all the time, man. It's just like
where are you?
I'm up in Queensland now.
Oh.
Yeah. Fucking never look back. I'm not going back to Adelaide. Fuck that.
Yeah.
It's too sunny up here. I got a good job. Fucking, I'm building a house. It's fucking, Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
It's good up here, man. It's never cold. Like I bought up all these jackets and I sold them all. I fucking flipped them all. I had this jacket collection, and my wife's like, "What are you doing with them, man?" Like, I got like one jumper and one pair of jeans. The rest, like,
Yeah, man. You're in the lifestyle. You're in the lifestyle.
Yeah, too old to be cold, mate.
Oh, hey.
All right, mate. So
Pete?
people can find you on Instagram. It's Lord Dazastah. But more so on Spotify, Downside, and all that.
Well,
do you have your own
that's
page?
the other thing I'll be uploading like beats now. Like I've just decided, like all these beats that I've just been left over that I was meant to make a catalog. I was like, I'm gonna be fuck it. I'm just gonna distribute it, and it's gonna be on Spotify, YouTube, and shit.
Yeah, sick.
There's no point like leaving beats that like people will never hear.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
must get them out.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Cool, man.
All right, mate. Just stick around. I'll have a quick chat to you before you hang up, but I'll start recording. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Charlie Chimp, aka Dazastah. Give our love to the little one. Give our love to Layla, mate. Hope everything's doing well, and good luck. Good luck in the future. I'll speak soon, brother.
No, man. Thanks for having us on here. Thanks for having us on here.
No worries. Peace, brother.
Peace.
Get down, get down.